Alrighty, so we are back in again for another video. Okay, today is actually going to be a return of the one-shot review because I saw a movie yesterday with my girlfriend Mary Elizabeth, my fiance, and man, I really want to talk about this movie. Holy cow. So for reference, the movie we're going to be talking about today is Speak No Evil, starring James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, I think it's Aisling Franciosi maybe, and Scoot McNairy. And then also the two kids in the movie is Dan Hugh maybe, and Alex West Leffler, but they spelled the name Alex like Alex Partners, which is a little bit crazy. But okay, what is this movie Speak No Evil even about? Okay. So I'm just going to say before I even just to summarize the movie, because, I still want to do my normal style. It's like the Anti-Passivity Manifesto. Like this movie is so do not be passive. Oh my God. It blew my mind. As somebody that gets in trouble for what they say out loud, not because I say problematic stuff. I just have a problem with challenging people when they say stuff that I think is not true, when maybe I could do a better job of not doing that and just being polite. Anyway, this movie is for me, I guess. But okay, so just to do the one shot review stuff. We went to Regal yesterday. I'm actually a Regal Unlimited member now. We're not on that AMC Stubs gang anymore, and the reason why is that in my area, and I think it really is dependent on your area. My area, the Regals are just better. In my hometown, the Regals are just better. They just have more movies. They've got better locations relative to where my family members live. And to be honest, I know it's going to shock people, but I'm a Pepsi guy. I don't even have to look. I literally have this right here, right now. By the way, this flavor is a classic. But anyway, I just like that they have Pepsi. So I've switched. I'm on the Regal Unlimited now. I still see movies quite a bit. I'm actually probably going to see the Don to Don movie tonight and make a video on that too because that show looks really good. But we went to Regal. Regal in my area is sick. It's pretty nice. It's in this sort of more upscale area in a suburb outside of where I live. Not that I enjoy that necessarily, but it just makes it sometimes easier when I always know I'm going to have some place to park, and it's just, it's only 15 minutes away. It's not really that long of a drive, all that. The AMC I was going to is also 15 minutes away, and I like that location actually because it's just right next to a Mark's grocery store, if you guys don't live near the East Coast at all. But yeah. So anyway, we went to Regal. We got popcorn always. I got the Pepsi Icy banging always. Does not make my stomach hurt like the popcorn combo with the icy did at AMC. I'm still we're basically having popcorn gate, but I don't know. I'm worried to really let that conspiracy theory loose. But the other thing that we got, because as a couple we've been working hard to not go out to eat. We're basically planning to never eat out to eat up until February. And we've done a good job so far. It's been a month and a half, I think. Because of this, when we go to the movies, we kind of go crazy now just because we know we haven't spent any money on anything else, which I know is counterintuitive, but that's what we did. So I ended up getting the Airheads Chews this time. And not the normal ones that just look like little Airheads Pebbles. They have these ones now that have a chewy white center. Don't get those. Those were such a waste of time. They're trying to be the sour rainbow things and sour watermelons and stuff like that. Sour Patch Kids and all that. That's I think their version of that competing product. But I couldn't finish it. I'm such a glutton. I always eat all my candy like a little like some kid that just doesn't got home from Halloween and doesn't know how to handle himself. That's me, so I don't buy that stuff at home. I buy it at the movie theater and I pig out. And I didn't finish it. So that should show you that the Airheads chews are mid. But the other ones that are like the little Airheads pebbles, those are goated. Like I used to eat those before going to the gym all the time. So Airheads, you win some, you lose some. But that being said, we went and saw the movie. They had some good trailers. We probably came in a little bit too late to see any trailers that were that good. I specifically remember there was one movie where I turned to Mary Elizabeth and I was like, we're going to go see that movie. But I, for the life of me, I cannot remember what that movie was. But there you go. There was also this interesting movie with Halle Berry where she's got two kids and they got to like be roped up the whole movie. And then like there's some demon outside. And it's like the end of the world. That one looks kind of interesting, but it looks like for how interesting it is, it could just as easily be like terrible. You know, sometimes, yeah. So anyway, now let's get, no more fluff, all gas. Let's get into this movie because I've got a lot to say. Speak No Evil, man. Okay, so basically what's the premise of this movie? Well, I've just now learned from Googling this a second ago that this is a remake of a 2022 Danish film or some other, like European film. And so now I really want to see that movie too. But this movie, it's got an American couple who's recently moved to London, who's on vacation in Italy. Okay, it's all going to make sense. It's okay. And they are at one of these things that, some people go to. I think it's kind of a silly thing to do, but maybe I'll change my mind. I've never been out of the country, but it's like where you get boarded up at this one building that's got like a couple apartments, and you're there with a bunch of families, and they try to take you around to similar stuff all week, and like you can go do your own thing, but at nighttime you eat dinners with all these other people that are there for vacation, that sort of thing. So as a result of that, they meet this other family. Okay, this other family from the west. I guess the west side of the UK, like out in rural. And I don't know anything about the UK. I don't know if that is like the real nasty place to be or whatever, but I have heard like weird stuff about the north from people like being prejudiced about that, which is kind of funny to think about. But so I don't know. Maybe I was supposed to understand something about that area being sketchy anyway. But from all I could tell, this family just seemed like nice people. They're like, yeah, you want to come out to our place sometime? They kind of hit it off over the vacation. They share some meals together. They make fun of a Danish couple together, which is just like they're catching strays for no reason. And then, as it goes, they get an invitation in the mail, and they're like, hey, come out to our cottage, our farm out in West UK, since you guys live in London. And then that way we can hang out and have a cool weekend together, and that'll be fun. Now, let me set this up because this is important. The two main parent characters played by Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis are Ben and Louise, okay? Ben and Louise are like the perfect example of like those hypocrite couples or those like miserable couples you see where like something has happened and nobody knows what it is, but they really don't get along. They're really trying to make it work, but they don't get along. And so like Ben, the character, is like passive aggressive and kind of a wimp and like lets his wife say mean shit to him. And he just is like, well, I don't appreciate that. Well, I don't even think he says anything. He's just like, oh, gosh, And then the wife, Mackenzie Davis's character, Louise, is like this vegetarian PR, like special interest group, hypocrite lady that is like, oh, I don't eat meat, but, all of a sudden is like the way she does it. There's like people, right? Like you can totally be yourself and everybody should be accepting of that. So if you're like I'm vegetarian or I'm vegan or whatever. Like, you should just say that, and that should kind of be the end of it. Like, if people give you shit for it, you can give them shit back. Like, we all live in the same world. Like, should be like kind of a normal occurrence, right? And so, but instead, she's like that type of person. You guys all know him, where it's like somebody talks about eating meat, and she goes, like, she literally made this face in the movie, like, bruh, people know you're making that face, dude. That, like, you're not. It's not visible to everybody, so you're gonna offend people doing that. So naturally, the dynamic that's set up, okay, and it's initially not hostile, right? Is that James McAvoy's character Patty and Aisling Franciosi's character, it says Ciara on here, but he called her like Kira in the movie. I don't know what's going on with the IMDb page, but anyway, they're more like country folk. Like, they speak their mind. They're not worried about it. Like working people type stuff, like you and I, where it's like, we'll just hang out at the bar and just absolutely BS or say whatever we feel, and have like because we want to talk about stuff, we want to have the debate, we want to talk to people and have interesting conversations. Like, he built it up as he's like this guy that's not afraid to be himself in any moment, and in sometimes, like, that makes you look like an asshole, right? And then later on in the movie, he does stuff that's like obviously messed up, right? But initially, it just starts as like, oh, well, she said she's vegetarian, and he's like, oh, well, maybe if you come by the farm, we could change that, ha ha ha, type thing. And then, just like making them uncomfortable, but not something that they should really be uncomfortable about. You know what I mean? Now, Ben gets kind of a liking for Patty because maybe he sees in him what he's missing from his life or something. I don't know. But just sees somebody that is treating him less like a failure and more like a normal person. And actually is maybe a little bit excited, a little bit masculine. So he's sort of like gravitating towards that. I don't know. But then Louise doesn't like Patty or Kira. I don't think she necessarily has a problem with Kira, but she thinks that because they're not like on team vegetarian, eco warrior, whatever, that they're sort of unsightly, uncouth sort of people. She gives a vibe she doesn't really like them. And like, I have to give Mackenzie Davis credit. Like, her character is so annoying in this movie because she's such a hypocrite. But obviously she's doing it on purpose. She's playing a character. But it's like stuff like, there's a part in the movie where she is vegetarian, and then they cook like their golden goose and prepare it for them for the first night dinner where they're out at the farm. And naturally, all of us watching are like, oh my God, they are testing her because they know she's vegetarian. So they know they're like really pushing her boundaries. And that's a dick move of them for sure. But what's the appropriate response of a human being is to say, I don't want to eat that food, and I'm not going to eat that food. But I appreciate that you thought of doing something nice for me, but I'm not going to eat that food, right? Instead, and this is like what everything with the movie, and I don't want to spoil it because it's so good. So like with everything with the movie, instead, she's like, no, I guess I'll eat it. And she like fakes it, pulls it out of her mouth, and holds it like this for the rest of the night to like throw away later. And then when they get back to the room, she's like so mad at them for doing that to her and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, they suck. Like, they're the worst for that, because I know that vegetarian and vegan people probably get that all the time from their family members and all that kind of stuff. They just like want to live in peace and all that. But it's weird. It's like, bro, you should have just handled that little bit of confrontation and said, actually, I'm not comfortable doing this. I would not like to do that. So please don't feed me this. Like, I don't want it. No offense. I don't want it. You know? And then they would have to, if they're reasonable people, they would have to say, oh, okay, never mind, our bad. Now, basically what happens, just to greatly summarize what happens in this movie, because I don't want to just talk about the whole plot, a number of instances happen over the weekend that make Patty and Kiara look a little bit sus, and their son, Ant, has not been able to talk the whole movie. And they said that he was born with a condition where his tongue is unnaturally small, and so he can't speak, and he's real self-conscious about it. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil that, but as you can imagine, that may not be the truth. Actually, I think you see it in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. In the trailer, they literally show, he's like, so what the whole thing is that these people bring, and this is not a twist, because I feel like you have to know this is like what's happening. After you see the trailer, you kind of know this is what's happening in the movie. So assuming, like, if you don't want to be spoiled on anything at all, skip forward 30 seconds. But basically the whole premise is like they brought them here this weekend. The movie is like the Anti-Passivity Manifesto, because the whole weekend they're just trying to do everything they can to make them feel uncomfortable and seeing how they react. And if you're somebody that makes people uncomfortable on accident a lot through like a similar mean, it's like it's just so good, because it's just like you could see, oh my God, they're testing them so bad. Why don't they just stand up for themselves? What the hell? But they don't. All the way up until the point where they're basically going to get murdered. And then like the classic line that he says, they're like, why are you doing this to us? And he's like, because you let me. Just let that sink in. Okay. But anyway, they end up fighting back. Like I said, I'm kind of spoiling it, but I hope you can imagine that this is how it goes. If you want absolutely no spoilers whatsoever, stop watching now. But I think this is relevant to what makes the movie like good and how I'm going to review it. So, they end up fighting back, and you already know they're probably going to win in the end, but I'm not going to give you I guess I won't make it definitive for you, but what was interesting about this movie is that people don't all of a sudden become strong or intelligent. Like, one of the most frustrating things in this movie is the disparity between Ben and Luis and Patty, in the way that, like, literally there's a moment where Ben has the ability to just blunt force kill one of the enemies. And this man pops out of a closet and throws the weakest hammer that I've seen in my entire life. And naturally, the bad guy's just like, bop, and then tackles him, is about to shove his head into a freaking shard of mirror glass, And it takes his wife coming in to kind of make the situation go better. But it's just like, what's interesting is that a lot of times in movies, like when people get ready to fight the bad guy, they like lock in, like, okay, like even I imagine myself, even though I don't have like any fighting experience, I think at least what I would do is look around at my surroundings and try to find what could be a weapon. And like, the other thing is they hold up in this house, and it's like anybody that has played zombies one time knows that, like, you're not going to train these three people with guns and you have no guns. Like, you're not going to be running zombie trains and stuff. You're not going to be running around the map. Like, what did we all do when we were playing zombies before we knew how to do that stuff? You get into a room with the least amount of openings. You put your back against the safest place possible that has no openings, and then you plan for the moment. What's the moment? When a person breaks through the door, and like that's your one element of surprise moment you have, Instead, in this movie, they're like running around the house trying to lock up all the doors, and then like people are coming in through the windows, and they just keep moving room to room. And I guess to some aspect, I agree. Like in stealth games, it's kind of smart to move from room to room and kind of sit behind people and stuff like that. But that's not what they were doing. They were just straight up running away from people and having trouble fighting back, right? So it's just like, oh my gosh, it was just so interesting, because every decision that the supposedly good guys in the movie made, you're just like, what the hell are they doing? Nobody would do that. And then you're like, well, I guess people would do that, but you're about to die, bro. Lock in. Oh my gosh. Like, anyway, that aspect of the movie was great. It was very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. So I don't want to spoil like any more because I think a lot of the fun, like the movie was honestly like funny most of the time up until the point that they actually had to fight, just because you're like watching these people like actively like be passive aggressive and let these people walk all over them and say like crazy stuff to them. Um, and it's like, yeah, if they hadn't have done that, they might not have been so susceptible to being murdered in this situation. Right? Like we were talking about it after the movie, it's like I'm the type of person where if I don't feel comfortable in a situation, you literally can't convince me to do something. My friends will tell you this. Even good peer pressure stuff that they have asked me to do over the years that I basically ended up doing anyway, I'm like adamant, like no. I'm not until I decide that I'm ready to do it. No. And then, I'm like everybody else. I can be peer pressure to do other things. Like just last weekend, I was way too hungover because I had just met up with a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. And we drank through, too much talking about things, right? Last Sunday was terrible for me, right? And that's not necessarily something that I wanted to do or be in the situation of. So I'm susceptible to it too. But I'm just saying that, like, there's an example in the trailer where they have a flat tire and they already know that they're bad people and they're trying to get out of there. And he's like, "Oh no, but your tire's flat. What are you guys going to do? Let me go help you out. Let me do it myself." And he's like, "No, I got AA, whatever it's called in UK." He's like, "They'll just come out here and fix it." And he's like, "No, I got it. I'll do it. Don't worry about it." It's like, dude, in that situation, I don't care how reasonable it is that a normal person would be able to patch a tire and let it go, because I've changed the tire myself. But just like, if you already know this dude is evil and you're just trying to get out of there, best thing you can do is call for help, right? So calling another party to come in, this AA person, to fix your tire and get out of there is like an out, right? And you're just gonna give it up because you don't want to look like you're being sus. Like, weird behavior. And then I don't know, there were very many times where it's like they did stuff that was just like, no. Like there's a guy that's shooting at them from a car. They're in their car, their windshield wasn't damaged to the point of where they were at risk. They could have drove right through his ass. They could have drove right into him and just kept going. And they were like, "Oh no, let's get out of the car and run away from the guy with the double-barreled shotgun who already shot 2 shots." Like, these are UK guns, guys. This is not America. They do not have ARs. You know what I mean? There's another moment where sorry, there was a bug in the room. There's another moment where, like, they subdue the guy momentarily, and there's a Glock just like laying on the floor next to him, and they could pick it up and end the movie, or pick it up and like protect themselves, and instead they just run away from it. Like, there's so many like confusing things, and I think it's all on purpose because it's supposed to show, I think to an aspect they're trying to show not only how ridiculous it is, how passive people are, how like they just let that guy say that stuff and they weren't willing to speak their mind for anything. They were just going to think bad things about them and go away instead of trying to understand what those people thought, which is bad of our main characters. Like, that makes them kind of like people I don't like, but the other side of it is that these other people are murderous psychopaths, and because our main characters are not the type of people who are really into hobbies that probably make them sweat or make them grow muscles, or maybe they build them up to seem like the type of people that would look down upon something like that, like working out, which is funny to say, but there are people like that. And anyway, that goes to hurt them later on in the movie when they have no idea what the fuck to do to defend themselves, and they're just getting overpowered at every turn. But anyway, I'm not going to spoil the movie any more than that. I guess I already did a pretty good job of that. But that is the movie, Speak No Evil. It's freaking crazy. I love it. I really did like it. I'm going to give it a very normal score, but like, I really did like it. It's just like such a good movie. If you're the type of person that speaks their mind and sometimes feels like you make people uncomfortable, this movie will make you laugh. If you are the type of person that is nasty and thinks things about people without telling them to their face, this movie will make you think. I hope. And if you're the type of person that's a murderous psychopath, hopefully you see this movie and see that you won't win. But because the good guys do win in the end, like they should. So at the end of the day, if I had to rate this movie, the whole experience, I think going in, I thought this movie was going to be like a 3, maybe less. And James McAvoy just killed it. And Scoot McNairy killed it. And Mackenzie Davis killed it. And Aisling Franciosi killed it. All of them played their characters to the perfect T. And James McAvoy just does such a good job of embodying like psychotic, you know what I'm saying? Like psychotic male psycho energy. He's like walking around the whole movie like, it's just it's so good. But so if I had to rate this movie, when I came out of it, I said this movie's like a solid 4.0. Like, on the scale of should you watch it in the theater, should you watch it at home, should you watch it on streaming, whatever. Personally, I think you should go see this in the theaters, especially because we're inching in on Halloween and everybody's always looking for like Halloween stuff around this time period, scary stuff during this time period. This movie, if anything, will make you laugh for most of the movie, and then it kicks into high gear, which is just in and of itself is a really interesting experience. So I will be watching the other version of the film, but maybe not making a video on it so soon. But that was Speak No Evil. I gave it a 4.0 out of the scale. What can I say? I think you guys should go see it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Maybe you guys will see a video coming from me soon about the Don Da Don movie that's supposed to be the first 3 episodes. That looks pretty good. But yeah, that was a one-shot review for Speak No Evil. I think you guys should go see it, and I will catch you guys on the next one.